Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Spring Boot and Microservices online training. Today is our third session. In the last two classes, we discussed about what are the prerequisites to attend this course and what is the course content. And yesterday, we discussed about what is programming language, what is a technology, and what is framework. Can you guys quickly respond in the chat box? What is programming language? What is the technology? And what is a framework? Programming language contains a set of programs to develop our applications like Java, C, C++, Python. These are called as programming languages. By using these programming languages, we can develop technologies, we can develop tools, we can develop frameworks also. So by using programming language, whatever the application we are going to develop, those applications are standalone applications, will be executed only in one system. Programming language will give you set of rules and set of syntaxes. Applications, tools, softwares, technologies, frameworks can be developed by using programming languages. Then what is a technology? Technology is a software which is developed by using programming language. For example, we can call JDBC as one technology, which is developed by using Java to communicate with the database. And we have servlets. Servlets is a technology which is used to develop web applications. The servlet is also developed by using Java, right? Technology is a software which is used to develop our applications. Mainly, several types of applications can be developed by using technologies. Whenever we are developing a project by using technology, we need to write the business logic as well as common logic also. So generally it will take more time to develop a project by using technology. We need to write a lot of code. We need to focus on the business logic and we need to focus on the common logics also. To overcome the loopholes or drawbacks of the technologies, we are using frameworks now. What is a framework? Framework is a semi-developed software. Framework provides some common logics required for application development, capturing the form data, validating the form data, creating the connection pool, performing the database CRUD operations. These all concepts are very common. These are common requirements for every project. Instead of we are developing all these requirements in every project, we can go for a framework. Framework is a semi-developed software. Framework will provide the common logic. You focus only on your business logic. So if you go for a framework concept, project development will become easy and we can do more work in the less time because common logic will be provided by a framework. You need to focus only on the business logic. Now, along with the frameworks, we are going to use several tools also in our project development. These tools are used to automate the manual work. Suppose I want to deploy my application. Instead of deploying the application manually, we can use Jenkins to automate the deployment. Okay, I want to do the code review. Instead of we are doing the code review manually, we can use SonarQube to perform the code review. Whatever the work that we are doing manually, that can be automated by using tools, programming languages, technologies, and frameworks and tools will be available. Core Java is called as a programming language. Core Java is called as a programming language. By using Core Java, we can develop an application, but that application will become standalone application. And by using advanced Java, servlets JSP, we can develop the application. We can develop web application by using advanced Java. Hibernate is available, Struts available, Spring Boot available. By using these frameworks also, we can develop the application. So can you guys tell me what is the main agenda of going for frameworks? Can you guys tell me what is the main advantage of going for frameworks? Guys, can you tell me what is the main agenda of going for frameworks? Guys? Reusability, boilerplate code. Whatever the common logic required for multiple projects, those logics will be provided by frameworks. So Spring is one framework, Hibernate is one framework. Okay, now we are going to understand what is application architecture. What is application architecture? Sir, we are learning Spring framework here, and we are learning Spring Boot, REST APIs, microservices, where we are going to use this Spring Boot in the project, where we will use Hibernate in the project, where we will use these microservices in the project. So what we are going to learn in these 3 months of time, what we can develop in these 3 months of time, let me give you that picture today. Application architecture. Guys, now application is also called as a project. So we are going to develop a project. What is the meaning of a project? Project is nothing but collection of programs. Project nothing but a collection of programs. Now, a project will contain front end and back end and database. So project means collection of programs. Collection of programs is called as one project. So project will have front end, that is nothing but a user interface, and the project will have back end, and it will be having some database also. Right? So we all are doing these courses, Java or Spring Boot or microservices or Hibernate or whatever. Whatever the course we are doing, that course we are doing, the reason for that is by using these technologies or frameworks, we need to develop a project. What will be there in the project? Project will have collection of programs, and every project will contain front end, back end, and database. So when it comes to the front end, user interface will be available. So front end means we can also call it as a presentation logic. Front end contains presentation logic, or we can also call it as user interface logic will be available in the front end. For every project, front end will be available. Front end nothing but user interface will be available. So to develop that front end, what are the technologies that people are going to use, guys? What is the tech stack that people are using to develop the front end? HTML they are using. HTML they are using for front end development. CSS they are using. HTML and CSS they are using for front end development. And they are using JavaScript in the industry. JavaScript is having lot of demand. Bootstrap is available, and HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Bootstrap. Along with this, people are using either Angular or React, any one, not both. Angular or React, or some people are going for Vue.js also. So this is front end tech stack, guys. Anybody who want to develop a front end of the application, they need to learn these technologies. This is called as front end tech stack. Front end developers, anybody who want to develop user interface of a project, they need to learn these technologies. HTML, CSS to develop the web pages, JavaScript libraries, JavaScript we need to write, we need to learn to manipulate the web pages. Angular, React, Vue, these are JavaScript based technologies, right? Angular is a framework, React is a library, Vue libraries are available. So these first three are mandatory for everyone. In the last one, either Angular or React or Vue, any one thing we are going to learn for the front end development. Front end means our presentation logic will be available, or we can say user interface logic will be available. Then coming to backend. What will be there in the backend? Backend contains multiple things, guys. Backend we will have web layer. Web layer nowadays we are developing as a REST APIs. Web layer will be available in the backend, and business layer will be available in the backend. Business layer will be available in the backend. Integration layer will be available in the backend, and DAO layer will be available in the backend. For every project, backend will be available. What will be there in the backend? Backend will have web layer, will have business layer, will have integration layer, will have DAO layer. Front end will contain only presentation logic, or user interface logic will be available. To develop that presentation or user interface, we are going to use these technologies. But when we want to develop the backend, first of all, what will be there in the backend? In the backend, web layer will be available, business layer will be available, integration layer will be available, DAO layer will be available. Okay, now next one, database will be available. Database is used, it is a persistent store. Some people will be using Oracle. Some people will be using Oracle database. Some people are using MySQL database. Some people are going for Postgres database available. Some people are going for MongoDB, etc. MongoDB, it is a NoSQL database. The remaining databases are called as a SQL databases. SQL databases will represent the data in the form of tables, rows and columns with relationships. MongoDB is a NoSQL database which will represent the data in the form of documents. A JSON document will be maintained to represent that data. Got it? Now, sir, here, in order to develop this backend, what are the technologies we are going to use? What is our backend tech stack? What is our backend tech stack? So here, if you want to develop the backend of the application, you need to know Java and J2EE. Java concept, J2EE concepts are required. And you need to know Spring Core. You need to know Spring Core. And you need to know Spring Boot. And you need to know JPA development. And you need to know how to work with REST APIs. And you should know how to work with JSON data. Currently, JSON is having lot of demand in the market. And you need to work with microservices. You need to work with microservices. You need to work with security and some tools. So like this, you need to learn your backend. So these are used to develop our backend functionality in the project. And for every project, front end will be available, backend will be available. Similarly, database also will be available. Now, as per current market trend, you need to know one SQL database, one NoSQL database. Both are required. You need to know one SQL database and you need to know one NoSQL database. So Oracle, MySQL, Postgres, from these three, any one is required because all are SQL databases. MongoDB, which is a NoSQL database. And coming to the backend, in order to develop the backend of our applications, Java knowledge is required. J2EE, how JDBC will work internally, how servlets will work internally, what is Spring Framework, what is IOC container, what is dependency injection. When the Spring Framework is already available, why Spring Boot came into picture, how to perform operations with the database by using ORM framework like Hibernate or JPA, how to develop RESTful services, how to deal with JSON data, and how to develop microservices, how to implement security in our applications, and how to work with Dockers and Redis, how to work with Docker, how to work with Kafka plus Redis we need to know. Nowadays in the microservices, we are using this Kafka and we are using Redis. And you need to know reactive programming, which is having a lot of demand in the market now. So as a backend developer, you need to work with these things. You need to know these front-end technologies also, either Angular or React. And these are the backend things that you need to know. And these are the databases you need to know. Then you will have demand in the market to develop these applications. And along with these things, you need to have some idea on some tools also. How to work with Maven, how to work with GitHub, how to work with Maven, how to work with GitHub, how to work with Jenkins, how to work with SonarQube, how to work with Jira, how to work with Docker, how to work with Kubernetes, like that. There are several tools available which we are using in the industry. Maven, GitHub, Log4j, logging, how we are going to implement logging, and JUnit, which is very, very important for us. JUnit, Jenkins, SonarQube, Jira, Docker, Kubernetes. Like this, you need to know some tools also. Okay. So in the industry, when you attend the interview with 3 to 4 years of experience, this is what they are expecting from the people. We are going to develop a project in the company. What is the meaning of your project? Project means a collection of programs only. Every project will contain the front end. It will contain the back end. It will contain the database. So for the front end, these are the technologies we are going to use. Front end will have a presentation logic. User interface logic will be available in the front end. Okay. So back end, in the back end, web layer will be available. Business layer will be available. Integration layer will be available. DAO layer also will be available. To develop the back end of our application, these are the things that you need to learn. And for every project, a database will be available. You need to know at least 2 databases, one SQL database, one NoSQL database. And you need to have knowledge on these tools also. You need to have the knowledge on the tools also. Maven, a build tool, GitHub, Log4j, JUnit, Jenkins, Sonar, Jira, Docker, Kubernetes. There are so many tools available. You need to work with these tools also. Then you can get jobs in the IT as a developer. For developer, these things are required. So now, if you say that I know only Java, that is not sufficient. Okay, so they are expecting full stack developers. You should become a full stack developer, front end development, back end development, and database also. Good. Let us see this application architecture, how application will be developed in the real time, what layers will be available, what layers will be available in the real time. Let us try to understand that. Okay, guys. Now let's go for application architecture understanding. Then you will get the clarity what we are going to learn in this course. After this course is completed, what we can develop. Good. As I told you, every project will have database. Every project will have a database. So what is the purpose of database? Which is used to store the data. So some projects will use SQL databases. Some projects will use NoSQL database. Database will be there for a project. And for every project, we will have a backend. Backend will be available for our project. In the backend, we will have REST APIs. That is comes under web layer. For our project, web layer will be available. Web layer nothing but we are going to develop REST controllers. They will take the request and they will give the response. Web layer will be available. Along with this web layer, we are going to have business layer where we are going to write our business logic. Where we are going to write our project business logic will be implemented here. That layer which contains the project, our business logic is called as a business layer. Business layer will be available. And integration layer nothing but our projects want to communicate with some third-party applications. REST calls we need to do. That integration part also required here. For every project, if your project having a requirement to communicate with a third-party application, then we need to write that integrations here. Integration tier also will be available in our project. And DAOs will be available in our project. Those are used to communicate with our databases. Data access is required. Data access is required, right? So this data access layer will contain the logic which is responsible to communicate with the database. Understand? Business layer represents our project business logic. And our project wants to communicate with some third-party applications. A REST API we want to access. That integration logics also we need to write. Integration logics also we need to implement in our project. Web layer nothing but our REST APIs will be available. Those REST APIs are going to take the request and will give the response. Business logic we will implement, like I want to send an email. I want to generate a OTP. I want to do some interest calculations. I want to generate Excel report. I want to generate PDF report. I want to do some validation on the data. I want to do some validation on the data. I want to send a message to Kafka, or I want to send some, I want to subscribe the message from the Kafka. I want to implement some cache. Such kind of requirements will be available. Those requirements we are going to do as part of our business layer. Along with this, we are going to integrate. That means our project should access some third-party services as a web services communication. That integration tier logic also we need to write in our project. And DAO also we need to write. DAO nothing but which will contain the persistence logic to communicate with the database. So this part will be available in the backend. Along with this backend, we are going to have front end for our application. User interface. So this is our application front end. We can call it as user interface. A beautiful UI is required for every project. HTML, CSS, JavaScript that we are going to use to develop that beautiful UI. So user interface will talk to our backend application. So front end will be developed as one application, guys. Backend will be developed as one application. And this backend application is going to communicate with the database for DB operations. So these are the three layers that we are going to develop. Three projects, that kind of thing. So this is our front end application. This is my front-end application. So this is my back-end application. This is called as my back-end application. Okay. So my backend application will contain the REST APIs, will have the business logic, will have the integration logics, will have the DAOs. So DAO will contain the logic to communicate with the database. Integration tier, any third-party applications that we want to access, that REST calls we are going to implement. Business layer will contain the business logic of our application. Web layer contains request and response. When you perform some operation in the front end data should come to backend. Backend data should go to front end. So to deal with the request and response in our applications, we are going to develop the web layer. In the web layer, we are going to write REST controllers. In the web layer, we are going to develop REST controllers. Are you clear, guys? So like this, our application will be developed. Front end part will be available as one application. Backend part will be available as one application. And a database will be available to store the data. So along with these things, guys, we need to have some knowledge on cloud platforms. Currently, cloud computing is at peak, right? So companies are not interested to manage the infrastructure in their company. So some cloud platforms available like AWS, Azure is available. AWS, Azure is available. Some GCP is available. So these are some cloud platforms available in the market. We need to have knowledge on at least one cloud platform. So AWS, if you know AWS cloud, then it is good. Lot of market is there for AWS cloud because companies are using cloud infrastructure. Companies are using cloud infrastructure because of scalability, because of availability, because of reliability, unlimited storage, security, everything. There are so many advantages are there when we go for cloud. So as a Java developer, you need to learn at least one cloud platform to survive. That is what the demand, that is what industry is expecting from the people now. So then what about DevOps? Some of the DevOps tools already we are covering now. We are going to learn as part of the Java. So Jira and Maven, GitHub, this Jenkins, Docker, Kubernetes, these tools will be available. Those are DevOps tools only. Okay, so this is complete a full stack profile, guys. Presentation logics, front-end development, back-end development with web layer, business layer, integration layer, and the DAO layers, databases, relational databases and NoSQL databases, tools, and cloud platforms. So if you know all these things, then you can become a full stack developer. Then your profile will have more weightage in the market. Your profile will have more weightage in the market. So guys, now, are you able to understand? Are you able to understand what is our application architecture? How a application will be developed? Are you able to understand how a application will be developed? What all the things will be available in the application? Front end will be available, back end will be available, database will be available. In the front end application, user interface will be available. HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Bootstrap, Angular or React or Vue.js we are going to use to develop our front-end applications. Coming to backend. Backend will have REST APIs. So in the backend application, we are going to develop request response logics by using REST controllers. We will develop the business layer. We will write the integration logics, and we are going to develop persistent logic also to communicate with the database. So you should know backend development also. Now here we are going to use a Spring Boot, right? Our course is Spring Boot microservices. Sir, what we are going to learn in this course? In this course, mainly we are going to learn the backend development. How to develop a backend of the application by using Spring Boot. How to develop the backend of the application by using microservices. That part we are going to learn. Okay. Now here again, application architectures are currently divided into two types. We understood what is the application architecture. Front-end, back-end, database. We are following two types of architectures in the market to develop the application. Architecture style, architecture types. Architecture types. So architecture types are divided into two types, guys. First one is monolith architecture. First one is monolith architecture. And the second one is microservices architecture. First one is monolith architecture and the second one is microservices architecture. So what is the difference between monolith architecture and microservices architecture? This course is mainly for developing applications by using microservices architecture. So what is the difference between monolith architecture and microservices architecture? Let's try to understand. Guys, my application having different functionalities, like you can take e-commerce application, or you can take one tickets booking application, online ticket booking application is available. So in my application, I am having hotels booking functionality. In my application, I'm having flights booking functionality. In my project, I'm having trains booking functionality, rail booking. I'm having cabs booking. I'm having some tourism plans. I'm having tourism booking, tourism tickets. Okay. So like there are several functionalities are available in my application. Hotels booking, flights booking, rails booking, cabs booking, tourism tickets booking. N number of functionalities are available in my project. If I develop all these project functionalities as a single project, all these requirements, if I develop in one project, all these requirements, if I develop in one project, then that application is called monolith application. One project will be available and one database will be available. So this application will communicate with the database. All the functionalities are implemented in single project. This project will have user interface also. This project will have a user interface also. UI will be available. Now, from the UI, we are going to access this project. Whenever you perform some operation on the UI, then backend logic is going to execute. Backend logic is going to execute. Where is that backend logic? Complete backend logic is available in the single project that is called monolith application. This is outdated concept in the market. So developing all the functionalities in the single project is outdated concept in the market. Why? Because if you develop everything in one project, then the maintenance of the project will become very difficult. If you develop all the functionalities in one project, the maintenance of the project will become very difficult. Hotels booking functionality available, flights ticket booking functionality, rail tickets booking functionality, cabs booking functionality, tourism tickets booking functionality. Everything is available in one project. Source code, lot of code we have implemented, and in this project only user interface is also available. So user interface, front end available, back end application is available, and a database is available. If you develop everything as one single project, that complete project will be packaged as one WAR file. This is my project. Tomorrow, when I want to deploy my application, the complete project will be packaged as one WAR file. That WAR file I need to deploy in the server. Let's assume that I want to make some changes to cabs booking. If I make any change to the cabs booking, again I need to compile the whole project. I need to package the whole project. I need to redeploy the whole project. Any small change if you do in the source code, the complete project should be packaged, complete project should be compiled, packaged, complete project should be deployed. And as everything is available in one project, if I make any change to the hotels functionality, there may be some impact on the other functionalities because everything is available in the single project. When everything is available in the single project, when you make a small change to the one functionality, because of that change, other functionalities may get affected. So that is the biggest problem with the monolith architecture. So if we are developing the application like this, this is called as monolith architecture. Single project for all the functionalities, all functionalities in the single project. Developing all requirements as one application. Developing all the requirements as one application, that is called as monolith architecture. Okay, maintenance will become difficult. If you want to make a small change to one functionality, there is a chance of impact on the other functionality. Whole project should be redeployed. For small change, whole functionality should be redeployed. Whole project should be redeployed. Whole project redeployed. Single point of failure. Single point of failure. If there is any small issue in the project, then complete project is going to be collapsed. The whole project is going to be down. The whole project is going to be down when there is a small issue in the project. So such kind of projects are called as monolith architecture projects. Monolith architecture project nothing but developing one single project for all the requirements. Developing one single project for all the requirements is called as monolith architecture based projects. Are you guys clear? So if you develop one single project with all the requirements, that project is called as monolith project. When you develop the monolith project, these are the problems we are going to see. Right? Maintenance will become difficult. Tomorrow, if I make any change to rail tickets booking, there may be effect on the hotels booking. There may be effect on the flights booking also. So that is the reason we should be very careful when we are developing the project with the monolith. And if I want to make any small change, then I need to recompile the whole project. I need to redeploy the whole project. If there is any issue in the project, then single point of failure. If any issue, then complete project is going to be collapsed. Business will be down. Revenue will be lost for the clients. So that is the reason currently people are not going to follow the monolith architecture to develop the. Monolith is a trending approach or monolith is a outdated approach, guys? Monolith is a trending approach in the market now or monolith is a outdated approach in the market now? Monolith is a trending approach or monolith is a outdated approach? Monolith is a outdated approach because of these challenges. Because of these drawbacks, no company is interested to develop the project by using monolith. So what is monolith architecture? Developing all the requirements as one application is called as monolith application. If you develop your project as a monolith application, that project maintenance will become very difficult. If you make any small change in the project, the whole project should be redeployed. And if there is any problem in the project, the complete project will be collapsed. Single point of failure will be available in the project. To overcome this problem, currently people are going to follow microservices architecture. Microservices architecture. So what is the microservice architecture? Divide and conquer. In our school days, in the social, we studied about divide and conquer. What is the meaning of divide and conquer? What is the meaning of divide and conquer? What is the meaning of divide and conquer, guys? Divide your project into multiple pieces and maintain them. Divide your project into multiple pieces and maintain them. Don't develop everything as one application. If you develop everything as one application, that is very difficult to maintain. Very difficult to maintain. To overcome the problem of monolith architecture, currently people are going for microservices architecture. People are going for what? Microservices architecture. Sir, what is this microservice? Monolith means it is architecture style. If you develop all the requirements as one project, then that is called as monolith architecture. Then what is microservices architecture? What is the meaning of microservices? Is microservices a technology? Is microservices is a framework? Is microservices is a API? Is microservices a programming language? No. Microservice is just one design pattern. What this microservice is telling is, boss, whatever the projects you have, whatever the functionality you have, don't combine everything into one project. So now suppose you have a requirement to develop the flights booking. Do one thing. For flights booking, develop a flights API. For flights booking, develop the flights API. Flights API nothing but one REST API. And you want to book the hotels. For that, you develop one project, hotels API. Hotels API. And you have a booking for cabs. Then develop CAPS booking as one CAPS API. Sir, what is API? API is nothing but one REST API. API is nothing but one independent project. So earlier what we have done, CAPS booking, flights booking, hotels booking, everything we developed in one project. That one project, nothing but one WAR file will be created. One WAR file we need to deploy into server. But today we don't want to do like that, because if you develop one project for all the functionalities, maintenance will become very difficult. If we develop everything in one project, then maintenance of the project will become very difficult. So that's why we are going to develop our applications by using microservices architecture. Microservice nothing but it's not a programming language. It is not a technology. It is not a framework. It is not a API. Microservice is just one design pattern. So by using the design pattern, we can develop and maintain our applications easily for long time. We can develop, we can maintain our applications easily, and we can manage them easily. We can maintain them easily for the long time. Your maintenance will become very easy when you go for microservices architecture. Now, I want to develop a flights booking functionality. I want to develop a hotels booking functionality. I want to develop a CAPS booking functionality. Instead of developing these three functionalities in one project, let's create three separate projects. One project for flights booking, only for flights booking, one project I will create. Only for hotels booking, I will create one project. Only for CAPS booking, I will create one project. Okay. For every requirement, I'm creating one simple independent project that is called as one API. So this API is called as a REST API. This REST API is called as one microservice. Now, for the flights booking, I want to use one database. Okay, so when we have multiple microservices, they can share the same database or they can have the different database. For flights API, I will use one database. For hotels API, I will use one database. For CAPS API, I will use one database. They can have different databases. And they can have the single database also. It depends upon the requirement. It depends upon the requirement. Now, flights API will communicate with this flights DB. Hotels API will communicate with this hotels DB. CAPS API will communicate with this database. For all these APIs, these are called as my backend APIs. These are called as my backend APIs. For all these backend APIs, we need a UI. UI will be developed as a separate project. User interface will be available as a separate project. Front-end application will be separate. That will be developed by using Angular or React. Front-end application will be separate. That will be developed by using Angular or React. Whenever a request comes for the flights booking, end user will access front-end application. When the end user access the flights booking in the front end, the UI application will access my backend REST API, which is responsible to book the flights. When user trying to book the hotel, so user will use the front end. Front end is separate project. When user want to book the hotel, that front end application will access my hotels API, which is in the backend. Similarly, it will access the CAPS API, which is available in the backend. So tomorrow, I want to make the changes to CAPS booking. When I want to make the changes to the CAPS booking, do I need to touch flights booking, hotels booking? Do I need to compile this code? Do I need to deploy this code? No. Hotels booking is one project which is running in separate server. Flights booking is one project which is running in separate server. CAPS booking is one project which is running in separate server. If you want to make the changes to CAPS booking, you will make the changes only for the CAPS REST API. That's it. You no need to touch the hotels. You no need to touch the flights. CAPS is an independent project running in a separate server where all these projects will be integrated. All these APIs will be integrated at the front end. So user interface will be available. When user performs some operation, it will identify user want to access flights, then that request will go to flights API. User want to access hotels, that request will go to hotels API. User want to access CAPS, that request will go to CAPS API. So this is called microservices architecture. Earlier, people used to follow monolith architecture to develop the project. Everything they used to keep in one project, maintenance of the project will become very difficult. To overcome that problem, currently we are going for microservices architecture. When we go for microservices architecture, what is the main advantage? It is an architectural design pattern. What is this, guys? It is an architectural design pattern to develop applications. It is not a framework. So it is one simple design pattern which is used to develop our application. Okay, loosely coupled APIs. Every functionality will be developed as a separate API. Easy maintenance, easy maintenance, easy deployments, easy maintenance, easy deployment. No single point of failure. No single point of failure. Suppose if CAPS functionality is failed, only CAPS functionality will fail. That's it. Remaining two functionalities will work as expected. When you go for monolith application, if my server is down, complete project will be down. But if you go here, every API will run in a separate server. CAPS will be developed as one project. CAPS booking will be developed as one project. It will run in a separate server. Hotels booking will be developed as one project. It will run in a separate server. Flights API will be developed in separate project, run in the separate server. So any damage will happen to particular API, not for the whole project. No single point of failure. Project deployments can be done easily. Project can be maintained easily. Tomorrow, if I want to make any change for the CAPS booking, you will change only one project, not the remaining projects. So if you make any change to the CAPS booking, zero impact on the flights and hotels, because flights is a separate project, hotels is a separate project. If you make the changes to one project, it will not affect on the other functionalities because they are developed as separate projects. But if you go for a monolith, everything is available under one project. If you make any changes to the CAPS booking, there may be an impact on the hotels, flights, rails, tourism also, because code is available in the single project. One class will use another class, one class method will call another class method. So some dependency will be available. That's why monolith applications are difficult to maintain. Microservices are easy to maintain. Every functionality will be developed as separate API. Sir, what is the meaning of this API? These APIs are nothing but our REST APIs. We are going to use Spring Boot to develop these REST APIs with the microservices architecture. By end of this course, what we are going to learn? By end of this course, we are going to learn how to develop microservices, how to develop REST APIs with the microservices architecture, how to develop our application with the real-time standards, how to develop the projects with real-time standards, how to implement microservices architecture to develop our application. That part we are going to learn. You got the clarity? What we are going to learn in our course? Are we going to learn the front end or back end? Spring Boot microservices. Are we going to learn the front end or we are going to learn the back end? We are going to learn the back end of the application. How we are going to develop that back end? By using Spring Boot REST APIs. Backend complete functionality we will develop in one application in the backend, or our backend will be available as a microservices. Backend only one application will be available, or backend collection of applications will be available. Collection of applications will be available. Those are called as APIs. API is nothing but one REST API. So functionalities will be divided into multiple REST APIs, and those REST APIs we will access from the front end. Front end application will be separate, back end APIs will be separate. So how many APIs we need to create in the back end? It depends upon the project requirement. Today I cannot tell you how many APIs we need to create. So based on the client requirement, based on the project requirement, we are going to decide how many APIs we need to create in the back end. Every API will be a separate project, will run in the separate server. Sir, every API will have a separate database. That is also not guaranteed. Some APIs will have a separate database. Some APIs will have the single database to exchange the data. That also depends upon the project requirement. Once we start the microservices, I will explain when we need to go for a separate database and when we need to go for a single database. All that stuff we are going to understand in the coming classes. So the next 3 months of time, we are going to focus on this area only. How to develop the microservices by using Spring Boot. This is 3 months of our course, right? Next 3 months, we are going to understand how to develop these REST APIs by using Spring Boot, how to communicate with the database by using Spring Boot, how to secure our REST APIs, how to handle exceptions in the REST API, how to monitor our microservices, how to implement unit testing in our REST APIs, how to test our REST APIs, how to generate the documentation for the REST APIs, how to develop business logic with the REST APIs, how to integrate front end and back end, how many REST APIs we need to develop for a project, how to communicate with the single database, how to connect with the multiple databases, what are the best practices we need to follow to develop microservices in the real time, how to deploy these microservices into cloud platform. These are things we are going to learn in the next 3 months of time. So our main agenda, how to develop our application by using microservices architecture by using Spring Boot. By using Spring Boot. Praneeth asking, for one API, do we need one server? It's generally when we are going for microservices, every microservice will be deployed in a separate server. You can keep multiple services in multiple APIs in one server also, burden will be increased on the server. To reduce burden on the server, every microservice will be deployed in the separate server. Every microservice will be deployed in the separate server. Guys, you got the clarity? What we are going to learn in this course? You guys got the clarity? What we are going to learn in this course? What we are going to learn, guys? What is our agenda for next 3 months? What is our agenda for next 3 months? How to develop project using microservices architecture with the Spring Boot REST APIs. Can we call microservice is nothing but one programming language? Can we call microservice is a programming language? Microservice is a framework? Microservice is a technology? Is a API? No, it is just one design pattern. It is just architectural design pattern. It will tell you how to develop your applications with loosely coupling, how to manage our applications easily, how to maintain our applications easily. That is given by microservices architecture. In the to develop the project by using microservices architecture, what is most important thing for us? If you want to develop our application as a microservices architecture, what is the most important thing for us? APIs development, API development, REST APIs. How to develop REST API. So how we are going to develop the REST API as a Java developer? Earlier, people used to work with SOAP based web services, but currently SOAP is outdated. Currently REST is trending in the market. Now we need to know how to develop REST APIs. To develop the REST APIs, we are using Spring Boot. Spring Boot is very famous in the market because of this REST APIs and microservice architectures only. So nowadays in the industry, any Java project which they are starting, definitely they will go with the Spring Boot microservices architecture. Some old legacy projects also migrating to Spring Boot microservices architecture. Sir, I'm a fresher. Do I need to learn the microservices? Yes. If you want to become a software developer, if you want to get the job as a software developer, if you want to survive in the company as a developer, then microservices architecture with the Spring Boot is required for you as a Java people, as a Java person. Whether you have 1 year experience, or you have 3 years experience, or you have 10 years experience, if you want to continue as a Java developer, then definitely Spring Boot you have to learn. Whether you are a fresher, whether you are experienced, it doesn't matter. Spring Boot is mandatory. Microservice is mandatory. Without Spring Boot microservices, you cannot crack the interview. If a Spring Boot microservices not there in the resume, nobody will call you for the interview because it's waste of time to conduct the interview for the person who does not know Spring Boot microservices, because the current market is Spring Boot microservices. Every Java project is getting developed with the Spring Boot microservices. If you say, I don't know Spring Boot microservices, tata, bye bye. They will go for other people who know Spring Boot microservices. Interview standpoint, job survival, for everything. As a Java developer, we need to be very strong in the Spring Boot and microservices. That is the demand currently in the market. Vijaya Reddy, who told that REST does not have security, SOAP is having security? It's a myth. In the REST, there are a lot of advanced security techniques are there. OAuth security is available, JWT security is available. Who told that REST does not have security? How you will have security in the SOAP? In the SOAP also you need to write the logic to secure your application. In the REST also you need to write the logic to secure your application. REST APIs can be secured by using OAuth, can be secured by using JWT authentications. How can you say that there is no security? Security is there. That is what we need to implement as a programmer. We can secure our REST APIs. If REST does not have a security, why these topmost companies will use the REST APIs to develop the projects? Facebook, Google, LinkedIn, Naukri, Gmail. Why they will use REST APIs when there is no security? Yeah, that is a wrong statement people are making. REST having security, does not have security. SOAP is having a security. That is wrong. That is a myth. Wrong statement. People who don't have complete knowledge on the REST API will tell like that. REST does not have security. Right? Yeah. So by end of the course, you will become microservices developer with Spring Boot REST APIs. So mainly we need to understand how to develop REST APIs and how to secure the REST APIs, how to handle exceptions in the REST APIs, how to integrate the REST APIs, how one REST API should communicate with another REST API, inter-service communication, external service communications, how to deploy the REST APIs, how to test our REST APIs, how to monitor our REST APIs. All these things we are going to learn in the course. The main agenda of this course is microservices development. Microservices development. Sir, will you teach Docker and Kubernetes? Docker and Kubernetes are not part of this course, guys. This course is Spring Boot microservices. Docker Kubernetes will be covered as part of Java real-time project course. Docker Kubernetes will be covered as part of Java real-time project course. Got it? Understood? Project front-end application, back-end application will be available. Front-end one application will be available. Back-end several applications will be available. Those several applications in the back-end are called as REST APIs. Monolith application means single project with all the functionalities, difficulty to maintain. Microservices means several REST APIs we are going to develop. So for every functionality, one REST API will be developed. One REST API, nothing but is one project. That one project we will deploy in one server. Right? Yes. Good. Perfect. So I hope we got the clarity. So what we are going to learn in this course and what is our agenda? What is application architecture? From tomorrow, we are going to start with that. So as we are going to develop the microservices based projects with the Spring Boot. So before going to start the Spring Boot, we need to have some knowledge on the Spring framework. Some fundamental concepts we need to know from the Spring, like what is Spring core module, what is IOC container, what is dependency injection, what is bean lifecycle, what is auto wiring. Okay, all the what is bean scope, all those topics we are going to learn. Those are fundamentals of the Spring. Same concepts we need to use in the boot also. I'm not going to start the boot directly, guys, because if you don't have the knowledge and the fundamentals of the Spring, you cannot understand the boot. Boot is developed based on the Spring only. Whatever the concept is available in the Spring, same concept can be used in the boot also. So first we are going to cover some basics of the Spring framework. Once we are comfortable with the solid introduction of the Spring, Then we are going to start our Spring Boot. Good. I hope you got the clarity. Good. Thank you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. The people who are watching from YouTube, thank you for watching. With this, I'm stopping for today. We'll continue tomorrow. Tomorrow, we are going to start with our Spring Framework. So if you want to attend the live session, yeah, please contact our admin team. Thank you guys.